Chapter 21, 5th to the 14th of November, from Everest Base Camp down into Nepal and all the way to the eastern border with India. Having exhausted our Cadbury's chocolate and digestive biscuits, after around 90 seconds we were forced to turn back, but good to still be alive, so we got ourselves a nice cup of tea from the back of this car and then had our final few hours in the mountains before saying goodbye and going on to the port city of Jurong for the night. Plenty here to remind us who owns Tibet. And then about an hour's drive to the crossing at Risuva Bridge, which is for tourists. The main crossing of the Friendship Highway was closed after the 2015 earthquake and is only open to locals. Well, Wednesday the 6th of November, we are very close now to the border between Tibet and Nepal. And we are quite lucky actually, this is only just reopened. It reopened 5 days ago. And you can still see lots of issues with the road being broken up and swept away. This most recent closure was caused by the floods last month, but another reminder of how extreme the terrain is here and how vulnerable it is to the effects of climate change. The usual queue of lorries showing we were close to the very imposing border between China and Nepal. Very smooth, very polite, very efficient. Very sad to say goodbye to Tashi, and then we got to the other side of the border. I must say, great entering Nepal, very friendly, very relaxed, and still the challenges of the road. It's quite hard to make quick progress. But who wants to when you've got this sort of scenery? Quite breathtaking scenery around here, and plenty of things to fall off if you're not careful. And of course, plenty of locals to bump into. These kiddies had a bike that didn't have a chain. That was their source of fun. Then down through the Langtang Valley, which is spectacular, but was also where the epicentre of the 2015 earthquake was. I highly recommend the Netflix documentary Aftershock if you want to know more. Didn't realise it at the time, but we were following the shape of the Nepalese flag. The top triangle represents the mountains, which are above 3,000 metres. The lower triangle represents the hills below 3,000 metres altitude. And then the bottom of the flag is the lower plains in the south of the country. Then on into Kathmandu, and as the sun came down, the traffic picked up. And in total, the trip took us about 8 hours to cover the 120 kilometres. Very pleased to arrive.
30 million people live in Nepal and 1.5 million are in the bustling city of Kathmandu. We stayed in the Hotel Thrive, which was a brilliant oasis of calm.
After a day's rest, we then had a tour which took us to 3 UNESCO sites, starting with Monkey Temple. We stepped out of this shop having been sold a mandala, and Jake stepped into this singing bowl. This is a very beautiful site, and despite Buddha being born in Nepal, only about 8% of Nepalese are Buddhists, with the majority being Hindu. And both beliefs coexist really nicely together, as this part of the temple shows. Hard to get away from the consequences of the earthquake, which struck at 11:56 on April the 25th, 2015. And actually our guide was in this very spot when it happened and witnessed buildings falling apart and obviously lots of people getting injured, and around 9,000 people in total were killed. Next stop for us was Durbar Square, which again is a stunning architecture, though quite sobering. Life and death is very vivid in Kathmandu, and as we looked across this temple we saw bloodstains from a recent animal sacrifice to goddess Kali. The next site we visited was Pashupatinath Temple, and you need to be warned that the following clip does include scenes of cremation. When someone dies in Nepal, it's important that they're cremated on the same day as death. So they're brought in and blessed, typically by a family member, and then the funeral pyre is set alight, and after the body is burnt, the ashes are pushed into the river for rebirth. So in many ways this is seen as a start rather than the end. On a slightly lighter note, Kathmandu is also on the hippie trail, so Jake led us astray in this hole-in-the-wall bar.
What happens in the hole in the wall stays in the hole in the wall. And it was once again time for us to get driving. Goodbye to Kathmandu and down to the fertile plains of southern Nepal.
Nepal is a big country, about the same size as England, and around 75% of the population work in agriculture. Route took us to Hitada, where we stayed one night, and then down to Janakpur, where we went for a great meal at Mithila Thali, run by MasterChef winner Santosh Shah.
We didn't realize it, but whilst we were eating, YouTube influencer Tata Khabar, with 1.5 million followers, was reviewing our car in the hotel car park.
Great review, thanks Tato, and big welcome to all our new friends following us in Nepal. Another 200k on the next day down to Itahari, which takes around 5 hours but is really nice around here. Beautiful clothes, beautiful fields, beautiful people. Great trip. Stayed at the Saltee West End in Itahari, and big shout out to the people who work there. Some of the best service we've had in the last 200 days. Then on to the Kingsbury Hotel in Bertamoj near the Indian border. Okay, it's Thursday the 14th of November and we are headed from Nepal into India across the border, hopefully, if all that visa shenanigans works.
Well, we didn't get very far, having accidentally tried to enter India without leaving Nepal. Good opportunity for Nick to drive the wrong way down the fast lane of a motorway for the first and hopefully last time.
Well, survived that, and as much as we didn't want to leave Nepal, we found Immigration and Customs disguised as an old colonial house and gave it another go. Right, attempt number 2 to get into India from Nepal. We now have our Nepalese exit stamps. Feeling slightly more confident, but let's face it, who the heck knows?